Hey guys, I'm the 50s kid. My alternator is making noise. When the engine's cold, when I first turn it on, it's making a squealing noise, goes away once the engine warms up. I know it's the alternator because I've changed all the other pulleys, so there's pretty much nothing else it could be. Plus, when I was doing my recent rebuild, I was reassembling everything. I gave the alternator a little spin. I could hear the squeak. I knew it was coming. It's been getting progressively worse. It's just time to replace it. It's a pretty easy job. All you really need are the special fan nut or fan removal tools. I'll put a link in the description where you can get these. Anyway, let's get started. So these are the tools you need to do this job. You need a 10mm socket, a 16, a 17. You need a T25. You need a little 3-inch extension. You need a 6mm nut driver or a 6mm socket and ratchet. You need a 3/8 ratchet. You need a pair of dikes. You need a hammer, and then you need the fan nut removal tools. And I used this 3/8 electric Milwaukee ratchet. This is a 2457-20. Love this thing. Makes it so much faster. Since we're going to be unhooking the alternator, you want to go ahead and unhook the battery first. You want to get this tray out. You'll definitely have to raise up this little part of the trunk first in order to get that out. I already had it out, so 10mm to loosen up the negative battery cable. So I just like to use dikes to get these clips out. If you've been a fan of my channel forever, you might have seen an older video I did on changing the oil filter housing gasket. And if you've seen that video, then you know how to do this already, but I figure a lot of people haven't really seen that because it's, you know, it's an older video. So unplug the mass airflow sensor, get a nut driver, and I just like to loosen off this ring clamp back here. Just a little easier for me than trying to pop out the two clips on the side, but you can do that too. 10mm on the side here. Get the air box out. You also need to pull off this little rubber thing back here. I'll show you in a second. So basically there's a little hook right here, and there's a little rubber thing that sits in that hook. Now we'll use our fan tools. Get the fan loose. Get on there. I don't keep that fan too tight on there. Just, you know, I just make it like finger tight. Gonna undo our electrical connector, and you'll probably have to actually unsnap your electrical connector right here. There are two things you pry on the sides, and that pops it out. The harnesses should be hooked onto the side of your fan shroud. You just have to kind of unhook them. Use a T25 to get this. And there might be another little plastic clip in here. Again, same as those clips for the air shroud. You just want to pry out the center of them and then pop it out. I don't keep it in there because it's not necessary. So we're going to need to pop the belt off of here. If you've got the older manual style pulleys, just regular spring tension pulleys, then it's just going to be a 16mm socket that you're going to put on right here. And when you go and tighten it, it pulls the pulley back, and you can slip the belt off. You also want to get the belt off that top pulley right there. You don't really need to take it all the way off. You can just kind of put it down to the side. Now, if you have the hydraulic tensioner, you're just going to have a hydraulic tensioner right here. In that case, you're going to take this little cover off, and I believe it's a T50 or a T55 that you're going to slip inside the bolt right there, and then you'll just use that to actually press the pulley down in. And then you'll be able to get your belt off. So you're only going to have that on the newer cars. I'm not sure exactly what the date, probably newer than 2003, something like that, 2003 to 2005. Now, before we remove the two bolts holding the alternator onto the engine, I want to remove that one bolt in the back that's holding the power cable. That's number 17 or 17mm. This little plastic cap. Now the top alternator bolt is going to be actually this pulley bolt as well. So we're just going to pop the cover off of that. A little flathead screwdriver. So 16mm. So I'm not going to be able to show you where the lower bolt is, but basically if you follow this pulley down, basically at 4 o'clock on this lower pulley, that's about where the bolt's going to be. Again, it's a 16. So So it's right about there. Okay, we're not going to take the bolts all the way out. I'm going to screw it back in a couple of threads. Then you want to get a hammer. You would go ahead and try to hammer on that bolt a little bit. Try not to hit the radiator. Don't swing back so far that you hit the radiator. Then go ahead and unscrew the bolt. I actually went a little too far. I'll show you why. So now we just got to get the alternator unhooked from this air duct down here. Probably easier if we pick it up and twist it. Twist it a little. There we go. So I picked up this alternator in a junkyard. It's a Bosch. I pulled it off a car that I could tell had low miles, but I could tell this was a replacement, and a fairly recent one too. So I picked this up for 25 bucks, figuring, yeah, I'm gonna need that someday. Okay, let's get this in. Feels like that little air ducting has come loose from where it was connected on the front of the car, but I'll just snap it back on. By the way, this is the part that we hammered out earlier. I hammered it so far that it popped out the end, but basically that's just a little thing that gets squeezed in, and you know, it actually protrudes from the edge of the bracket right here, and it squeezes tight against where it bolts onto the car. So it's actually, you know, once the alternator is really tight and it's on there, this thing is so tight that it could be difficult to get the alternator off. So by screwing the bolt in a couple threads and then banging on it right here, it actually pushes the little insert out a little bit, makes it much easier to get the alternator off. Let's go ahead, get this thing plugged in. Get the alternator plugged back in here. Now we get the bolts on. So we'll go ahead and get those pulley bolts back on. Before I make it too tight, let's get that front bolt in. Make sure we get it aligned and everything first. And that pulley actually has a little nub on it. Hold on, I want to show you guys that. So that pulley has a little nub that aligns in a little slot. So I can feel that I'm drawing that nut back on. There we go, torque to factory spec. Put the little cover back on. Now we can slip our belts on. Oh, always extra tricky. So that is how the belt is supposed to be routed. Let's get our fan and fan shroud back in. This fan shroud's always been pretty good to me. Slips right down into place. I'll just give it a little pop. Get everything plugged back in here. Okay, let's get our air box back in. I like to have this cable underneath here, like that. Get our two 10mm bolts back in. And we're done. So let's turn it on and confirm that the alternator works. So I don't want to dig out my voltmeter right now. I've just got this battery tester handy. It's a battery conductance tester that Foxwell sent me out to take a look at. Hook this thing up. Battery in vehicle. Do charging test. 13.9 volts. Okay, 13.8. Again, the lights are on, so we've got a little bit of a load on the battery. So I had the lights on, I had the air conditioning on, and I had the radio on, and we were still at 13.9 volts at idle. And that is very, very acceptable. So I'm happy with this alternator. All done. That is a pretty easy job, guys. You can get that done in about an hour. All you need are basic hand tools. If you enjoyed the video, please toss me a subscribe. I'm the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.